Your business needs help. 56.1 million employees are employed by small businesses in the United States, and 99% of all U.S. establishments are small businesses under 250 employees. That means that your business should be listening to the only podcast dedicated to small business success. That's Growth Success Radio, growthsuccessradio.com. Welcome to this week's episode of Growth Success Radio. Good morning and welcome to another episode 19 of Growth Success Radio. We're here with Attorney Bob Gould this morning. I am co-host Scott Gombar, and somehow he wound up in the bottom today, but Eugene Resnitsky, my co-host and co-owner of Traeger Insurance, is with us. And of course, the polarizing personality of Bob Gould. So before we get started with Bob, Robert, which do you prefer, Bob or Robert?
Bob is just fine.
Okay. We're going to have some problems, just so we know, because Bob is a New England and Red Sox fan. I can't, a Patsy's fan. This is a big problem, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
I like a winning team.
You like a winning team, so why do you like the Red Sox? But anyway, the show is co-sponsored by Traeger Insurance and Scott Gombar Digital Marketing Agency. We're live every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, almost every Friday. We make the occasional exception. And if you want to listen to or watch past shows or see who's coming up, you can visit growthsuccessradio.com. But Eugene, tell us about Traeger Insurance.
Sure. We're an independent insurance agency based out of Meriden, Connecticut, but serving the entire state of Connecticut, working on getting licenses in different states. We're licensed now in South Carolina, working on Florida, California, Maine. I think I'm missing a couple other states. My role within the agency is to grow the commercial lines department. So that's helping business owners cover their what-ifs in life. For example, one of the what-ifs I help them cover, if somebody like Bob Gould tries to sue them, make sure they have enough coverage.
Important.
Awesome. Good to hear you're in South Carolina. That's one of the states I'm looking to move to because our lovely governor here in Connecticut is making things challenging.
That's a separate
whole separate thing, right? That's a whole separate. Maybe we can get him on an episode of Growth Success Radio.
Oh my God.
So Scott Gombar Digital Marketing Agency, we handle I tell people it's three primary functions: is the organic piece, which is essentially ranking your site on Google and Bing and Yahoo and some other search engines. There's the social piece, which is your Facebooks and Twitters and LinkedIn's of the world, and Instagram and Snapchat. There was a few Snapchats floating around from last night, and we'll get to that in a moment too. And the paid piece, which is digital advertising, primarily through Google and Facebook. So that's what my business does. We've made some exciting partnerships in recent days. So look for some exciting stuff from me, really. And by the way, we also do live streaming, if you can't tell. And Eugene, do you have any updates? Anything people should know about the storm approaching us?
Not updates, but because we have either a dusting or a major snowstorm coming, so we haven't figured it out.
That's the forecast every day.
Being in insurance, I'm going to assume it's going to be the worst case scenario. So just a couple tips for people for their home. I recommend raising the heat just in case the power goes out so your pipes don't freeze. In your car, if you're driving, I recommend having a blanket, first aid kit, batteries, flashlight, some water, just in case you get stuck out there, because that's happened before and people got stuck with nothing. So those are just a couple tips that I have for people. Hopefully it'll help them out.
Those are good tips, because I can tell you the blizzard of 2013, when I finally did get home after 3 days, and and dug my way back into my house, 40 inches of snow, my heat was off, and it was about 40 degrees in my house. So
that's not
very
good for
good tips. No, I got lucky. That didn't happen, but the heat was off because there's a safety switch or something that if the vents are covered by snow or whatever, the heat turns off to prevent from carbon monoxide poisoning. So, and I wasn't aware of that. So got in the house after shoveling for hours, soaking wet, and it was 40 degrees in my house.
Jeez.
And for me, I just want to point out an interesting little stat that I saw. 61% of Fortune 500 CEOs are still not using social media of any kind at all. And in a world that we live in today, I think they're doing themselves a disservice. Whether you use Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever it is, you should do something. And our guest here, Bob Gould, uses Facebook quite well. But you need to be out there and getting people to like you, because people don't like Fortune 500 companies. They don't like dealing with them anymore. And people like Bob like going after them. Right, Bob?
I love it.
So without any further hesitation, I'm going to introduce to you Bob Gould. He owns Gould Law Firm, and he's going to tell you all about his law firm right now.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Scott and Eugene. Thanks for having me on. I am a personal injury attorney. I represent plaintiffs. Those are people that have been injured in some sort of an accident, whether that's a car accident or a slip and fall on an icy sidewalk, or the negligence of a doctor, or on the job, or some other way that you can't even conceive. I've been doing this for 16 years now, and all but 8 months or so where I did a little defense work, I've represented injury victims. And I am licensed here in Connecticut, and I've handled thousands of cases also in New York, and I'm also licensed in Massachusetts. So being a plaintiff's personal injury lawyer is, that's what I do. It's what I've been doing for a long time. It's how I make my living, and I'm quite passionate about it. So
awesome.
Some of and just to follow up on the tips that you gave earlier, Eugene, with a storm coming, if you are a property owner, you might be thinking to yourself, well, what's my obligation? Can I do nothing here, wait till the storm passes, and then, shovel? And that's kind of a tricky issue. I end up in a lot of lawsuits with a lot of businesses that stay open during a storm, and then they don't do anything during that storm. And the law is pretty flexible in that regard. You have a reasonable period of time after a snow event or any kind of an ice event to clear your property. That said, if you decide to stay open during a snowstorm, you can't just do nothing until the snowstorm ends. You've got to make sure your property is safe. If you want to operate a restaurant and keep it open during a storm, you've got to shovel the driveway, you've got to salt the parking lot, clear off the walkway. You've got to do everything that you should be doing because you are expecting patrons on your property. So just be aware, if you're a property owner, that you've got some elevated duties during the course of a storm. If you're a residential owner after the storm, you get about 24, 36 hours to sort of clean up before you can be liable for someone's fall on your property from that.
Eugene, I swear I didn't give him the questions ahead of time.
Those are good tips. It's because that's something I wonder, because I insure the properties, and I want to make sure that if a property owner asks me those questions, I'll have an answer for them, because they do wonder about that. Somebody is walking down the street and slipping because they missed a patch of ice.
Well, you want to make sure you do it the right way if you're a property owner. So it's not, if you shovel, but the place is still slippery and it looks like you haven't done much, you want to put some salt down or some sand down. No one's expecting your property to be perfect, but you've got to make sure that it's in pretty good shape soon after a snowfall or an ice event, to make sure that it's, pedestrians can walk by and people aren't getting hurt. And with insurance, generally speaking, you want to have good insurance on your property, because the calls I get from slip and falls on sidewalks and restaurants after a snow event, those are usually pretty serious injuries. You don't get a lot of people that just sort of twist their neck when they fall on ice. You get compound fractures, broken ankles with surgery, and those are the types of claims that can really pile up pretty quickly at a high value. So you want to make sure that you have some pretty good insurance on your property.
Fantastic. All right.
So how can we build my business from this? I mean, no, I'm just kidding, guys.
Just slip outside
So guys,
our
go
property.
ahead.
Yeah.
What's that?
I don't insure it yet, so you could slip all day over there.
Where at your house?
No, at the office.
Oh, at the office. Yeah,
I'll
I can
I'll head
almost walk
over.
Yeah.
I'll head
there. If I
over on
wasn't on
Sunday.
crutches, I could walk over there right now.
Bob will be there with taking pictures as you fall.
That's right.
Video. So Bob, when did you open Gould Law?
There you go.
I opened Gould Law in April 2012, and we have an office at 900 Grand Avenue, right in New Haven. And in April 2012, we picked up this little storefront, and I say we, it was me, and it was just me at the front office, and I had a folding table and a laptop and a cell phone, and I just opened up with a lot of hope and big vision. And so it's been a pretty good process, and I've learned a lot out of it. And I love being in New Haven, right in the heart of New Haven. It's a fantastic place to open an office. We're on a bus line. There's parking. The people are interesting, and we have a good time. And since April 2012, we've grown. We just hired our fourth full-time case manager, paralegal. And we have an associate who works for me and handles a lot of work. So we've really taken off since then. And I think that is because we do things the right way every time. That's what I credit it with.
Nice. So you have, and I'll be honest, I know some of the story already, but you have a pretty interesting story about when you first opened up, what that was like versus today. So how did you get from there to today?
Well, when I opened up, I had no clients, and I knew I've been doing personal injury for a long time, so I knew that what I wanted to do was to grow the practice to a point where I could hire some people to help do the work for me. But in the personal injury world, it's unlike, let's say, insurance or marketing support, where you have a client and you do something and they pay you. In the personal injury world, our fees are contingent on our recovery, which means we get a percentage of what we close. If I settle a case for $9,000, I'm going to make $3,000. But it takes a year or so before those cases settle. So any case that comes in the front door, I'm not going to see a dime for a year. And that was really the big challenge for me, was getting through the first and second years of operating, because I was able to find a lot of cases and dig up work, but I wasn't getting paid on them. And that was a pretty big challenge. So at the outset, it's like any other small business owner, I was out hustling every day. Every day was a decision that, today is a day I'm going to get some business, and where am I going to find it? And for me, that meant networking with doctors, with other lawyers, with local businesses, with community leaders. And it's just getting my name out there and earning some trust and some reputation. And that has helped a lot. And as I'm sure you have the same thing going on, if people don't trust you and they don't want to work with you, they're just not going to work with you. And so over the last few years, we've finally sort of had all cylinders firing, and we've been able to hire more staff, and that's really helped a lot, because a lot of those early cases that we signed up in the first couple of years have come through. They've settled. We've got money coming in the door, and now we're actually making some money, and we're in a position of growth, which is really what we're all about and what I'm trying to do. Does that kind of answer what you were looking for?
Yeah. I mean, I know you started out with basically a folding table and a big office, but you sat in the front of that office there for a little bit. And now when you walk in there today, my eyes kind of pop out and burn because of all the Red Sox paraphernalia. But
well, with the Red Sox, I mean, I'm born and raised outside of Boston, and if you're born and raised outside of Boston, you're just nothing but a Red Sox fan. That's just the way it is. And I'm a Red Sox fan, and we've had some really great success over the last 10, 15 years maybe. But I also suffered my entire childhood, just losing awfully and looking terribly. So it's nice to have a winning team for a while.
Good thing about us, we don't judge our guests based on their sports team preference. So.
That's right.
I
No
appreciate
judgment
that.
zone, just
No
because
judgment
this.
Just like Planet Fitness. So Bob, what type of injuries do you help your clients with?
We help with anything. And I should say that we don't just help with their injuries. I mean, we don't help hurt them. We help when they're hurt. But one of the reasons that our staff are called case managers and not paralegals is because we sort of have taken away from the traditional paralegal model. So traditional law firms, when you have a paralegal working on a case, their job is to only do the legal work that the attorney, needs done. The paralegal might draft a lawsuit or prepare discovery responses or, do sort of traditional legal work. And what we've done over here, which I think has made a tremendous difference in our success, is that our case managers are actively involved in all aspects of our clients' lives. We call them routinely. We know what's going on with them. We know about their kids' upcoming graduation. We know about their vacations. And by doing that, we're able to really get a feel for how their injury has affected their life. And when you talk to a client and you know that they missed out on a vacation or they can't pick up their 2-year-old because their back hurts, you're really in a much better position to negotiate with an insurance company or to prepare them for a deposition or for a trial, because you can really explain how the injury has affected them. And there's a big difference between saying, here are the medical records, this is what the injury is, and here are the medical records, this is what the injury is, and this is how it's really had a terrible effect on our client. And so being able to know our clients and really get intimate with some of those details allows us to get a premium on our cases. And because I've been doing this for a long time, and I know a lot of adjusters with a lot of insurance companies nearby, these insurance companies, they know what I'm about. They know that this isn't some, flop house law firm where, they can get away with offering us pennies on the dollar. We're going to want good money for our clients because of, the cases and the way that they're worked up. And a lot of that has to do with knowing our clients. And that's what our case managers are all about. They do a lot of legal work, but a lot of what they do is really personalized and helping out our clients. And just to give you an example, for instance, one of our clients right now called us yesterday. He's being discharged from a physical therapy rehab facility. And they said to him, you need to get a walker and a couple other medical supplies, and his insurance won't cover it, and he can't afford to pay for it. And we're, as lawyers, while I would be happy to stroke a check, we're prohibited from doing that. We can't just give money away to clients. It's against the law. So what we did yesterday is one of our case managers was able to track down a facility up on the shoreline that will, for a $1 donation, they will donate to you medical supplies. And so we'll go up there next week, and we've ordered a couple of things that he needs, and we'll make a charitable donation in his name, and they will give us all of the stuff that he needs for his rehabilitation for his injury. And that's the kind of stuff that you just don't get that everywhere. And we try and do that on a routine basis.
Great.
I've got a new hashtag for you. It's Gould Cares. Hashtag Gould Cares.
That's a good
Nice. That's a good one.
You're going to start using that on all your posts, all right? Gould Cares.
So, Bob, just a quick question. Do any of these insurance companies fear you yet when they see your name?
Do they fear me?
Or respect you yet? More so.
Yeah, well, it's not so much the insurance company themselves. They're just gigantic, nameless, faceless beasts of a company. It's the individual adjusters that you have a reputation with that are the ones that are in charge of the claims. And some of them have more authority to get their cases settled than others. Certain insurance companies will come up with better money than others. But it's the adjusters themselves, and I know a lot of these adjusters, and I know them from negotiating cases with them for 16 years. And I know that there's certain adjusters, they've got 3 kids and they like to vacation in Disney World. And I know other adjusters that have had back problems and they can sympathize when a client has a back problem. I know certain adjusters are just plain nasty and I shouldn't bother dealing with them, and I should file a lawsuit immediately and deal with a defense attorney. So it's knowing those relationships and knowing the players that are all involved in this industry and doing it for a while really helps out a lot. And my reputation, I like to think, is that I'm a fairly straight shooter. I don't play a lot of games. I will tell you exactly what I need, and I will tell you why you should give it to me. And if you want to give it to me, that's great. And if you don't want to give it to me, then you don't have to. But I'm gonna file a lawsuit, and eventually you're gonna give it to me.
Awesome. Now I'm scared again.
Yeah.
Don't be scared. I'm
I get
pretty
scared
nice.
during his education moment.
That's right.
Sometimes those are scary.
Bob, you've talked to us in the past it's different types of injuries and the timeliness of those injuries. So what are some of the things you wish potential clients knew before calling or not calling an attorney? So they decide, I'm going to wait to call or whatever. What do you wish they knew before they made that decision?
Everything you say to an insurance company is marked up in their file. They've got a little computer system, and they check little boxes all over, and they have to make little notes all over, and every single thing they check and they note goes into the value of a case. And so when you wait 3 months to call me and you've been dealing with an injury and you're treating and you speak to an adjuster and you tell the adjuster, well, this week I'm feeling pretty good. I'm going to try and go to the gym again. Well, that goes in their system. And then when the case, comes ready to settle, they're going to say, your client was fine after a week. She said she was all better and she was going to go to the gym. So we don't think any further treatment after that first week was reasonable. So I guess the bottom line with respect to that is you're better off not waiting to hire an attorney because the insurance company is not looking out for you. If you are going to wait, don't speak to them, for Pete's sake. They are not in it to create value for you or look out for your interests, regardless of all the little catchy slogans that they have about, being good neighbors and you're in good hands and all that stuff. They are not looking out for your interests. They are looking to save money. At the end of the day, these insurance companies are making billions in profit. Billions. There's a reason they're making billions of money in profit. It's because they are not paying you. And they don't want to pay you, and they're bonused not to pay you. And the longer you just talk and talk and talk, the less they're going to pay you, and they peg you as a sucker. So you're better off getting an attorney involved right away, because then the claim can be phrased to the insurance company in such a way that they're going to respect the claim. They're not going to turn around after 2 months and say, well, we don't think your injury was a real injury. You're fine. That chiropractor you saw, well, his bills are too high. We're not going to pay it. The sooner you have an attorney on board, the better. And if you're going to wait to get an attorney, for Pete's sake, don't speak to an insurance company because they are just not looking out for your interests. And we get these calls every day, literally every day. I get a call from someone who says, well, I'm going to see what the insurance company is going to offer me, and then I'll give you a call. It's like the worst because you tell them what you're looking for. You say to them, well, I'd really like to settle this case for $10,000. And they say, well, we'll give you $2,500. And then they call me and they say, well, I told them I wanted 10. They only gave me $2,500. Well, now I'm stuck. I can't ask for more than 10. They already know that you would be perfectly happy taking $10,000. So maybe your case is worth $50,000, but you've already told them you want 10. I can't get them to give me 50. They know you only want 10. So talking to these insurance companies is it can really destroy the value of your case.
I agree.
No offense, Eugene.
I know. I was going to say, as a disclaimer, I know I represent insurance companies, but I care more about the client than I do the insurance companies. So
yeah, and
I'm on Bob's side with some of these cases.
But in Eugene's defense as well, Eugene is going to make sure that you have the right types of coverage in the event that something does happen. And I know this because I've worked with Eugene.
So I play both sides.
You have to keep that in mind.
I play both sides. So if one of my client gets hurt and it's not their fault, I'm going to say go hire an attorney right away. And then on the reverse side, I have to make sure that if my client does cause damage to somebody, they have enough coverage if they do get to it.
Right. And one of the things that you want to look out for as an agent is the only thing that you can do to really protect yourself is you can get an uninsured or underinsured motorist policy. And what that type of policy does is if you are injured in a wreck with someone that has either a minimal policy or small policy or no insurance policy, and you have one of these UM policies, you can then make a claim against your own insurance company. And that's really beneficial. If you get into a terrible car accident and you have to, have back surgery, and the guy that hit you has a $20,000 insurance policy and your bills are $150,000, that's not going to help you very much.
Yeah.
But if you have an additional, $1 million in uninsured or underinsured motorist protection, you're going to have that coverage available to you. And that's the only thing you can really do to look out for yourself in the event of that type of crash. And so I always recommend people, get that kind of coverage all the time. It's critical.
It's also required in Connecticut.
Yeah, well, it's only the 20 that's required.
Yeah.
It's the minimum policy that's required. But you can get huge policies for $200-$300 a year. It's just not it's not that expensive to add that on.
Definitely not. All right. So sometimes the personal injury attorneys are viewed in a negative light, quote unquote, ambulance chasers. So why do you think that is, and how do you think that can be changed in the public perception?
Well, I don't think that's going to change all that much. I mean, while it would certainly be nice if it did change, the fact of the matter is that in the 80s, you began to see a lot of TV ads and you saw a lot of money being spent by lawyers to bring in cases. And that reputation immediately took off that, these guys are out looking for business. And unfortunately, that's the way the industry is. You can't, if you're going to grow your firm, you've got to come up with some way to market yourself. And whether that's through TV ads or through, web ads or however it's going to be, you have to get your name out there. No one's going to hire you if they don't know you exist. And so you have some of these guys that are on TV and they're spending 7 figures to be on TV. And that's the reputation is these guys are just out looking for accidents and looking to sign people up. And that, unfortunately, is the reputation. But at the same time, everyone hates a lawyer until you need a lawyer. And once you need a lawyer, you love a lawyer. It's just like insurance companies. Everyone hates an insurance company until you're getting sued. And then you're perfectly happy to have an insurance company. Or, everyone wants to complain about all sorts of stuff until you need that service. And so one of the ways that we try and change sort of that that mentality of ambulance chasing and sort of puppy mill type of law firms is we do the things I was discussing before. We really try and help our clients out. And to us, it's more than just, finding a case and making a buck. It's about helping people get through a really difficult and traumatic time in their life. And these are not easy things to go through. If you've ever been through an accident, it can be incredibly scary and traumatic. And there's a lot that happens. And if you have someone you can turn to just to answer questions and help you make it a little easier, well, that's really an important feature. And when we do it on a contingency basis, meaning we get a portion of the settlement, that's really beneficial for people not to have to pay a lawyer. If you've ever gone and seen a lawyer about a family matter or a business matter or a contract matter, and you show up and you meet with this guy and he's, seems like a great guy, but he says, all right, well, I'm happy to do this for you. I'm going to need a $5,000 retainer check, and then my fee is going to be $400 an hour after that retainer check is out, and I won't do any work unless I've been paid. Well, who has that kind of money to go and spend on a retainer agreement? And that's why contingency fees are really beneficial, because I'm only getting paid a piece of what I make. Mm-hmm. And if I don't perform, you're not going to pay me anything. So I am available to the poorest of the poor, the richest of the rich, and you don't have to worry about stroking me a check, because at the end of the day, I'm going to get paid based on my performance.
The way the Red Sox should get paid.
Yeah.
You kind of touched on this already, Bob, but why do you recommend against settling with an insurance company without speaking to an attorney?
Now, studies have shown that people with an attorney end up with 3 times more money than people that settle on their own. And there's a lot of factors that go into that. Not the least of which is that there's so much that can be done to create the value in a case. And an insurance company, their job is to try and pay as little as possible. But they have that money. It's allocated for you, and you want to get as much of that pie as you possibly can. Anytime an accident happens, an insurance company sets apart an amount of money that they're willing to pay on that case. That's called a reserve. And they say, well, we're going to reserve X dollars to pay this claim. And then the job of the insurance adjuster is to get the claim settled under that reserve, because then whatever's left, that goes back into the billions in profit. And so they set that reserve. They set that reserve whether there's a lawyer involved or there's not a lawyer involved. So if they set a reserve of $50,000 on a case and then they settle it with you for $2,500, you just made them $47,500. And that's pretty sweet for them. Not so sweet for you. If you have an attorney involved who knows how to present that claim appropriately, who knows that, going to see a physical therapist is important, but going to see an orthopedist who can justify that treatment is going to be more important and is going to create value. Or if you've missed time from work and they say to you, did you have sick days? And you say, yeah, I had a sick days. I used 2 weeks of sick time. And they say, oh, so you didn't miss any lost wages because, you had sick time. Well, they're trying to cut back the value on your case. And the reality is, I'm going to get you that 2 weeks of sick pay back, because now when you're actually sick, you don't get to use it. Those are days that you're out of work because of the accident, because of the negligence of their insured, and they're going to pay you for those 2 weeks. And let's say you say, well, my back is still bothering me. And they say, well, you'll be okay. Well, I'm going to be able to find a doctor who's going to look at you and say, well, this is something that's going to be with him for the next 20 years. He's going to wake up sore twice a week. And someone waking up sore twice a week for the next 20 years, that case is going to have a different value than when an insurance adjuster tells you, you'll be okay, don't worry about it. Here's $2,500. So the same injury, it has a different value depending on how it's crafted and how it's presented to an insurance company, to a defense attorney, to a jury. Those injuries have much more value when there's an attorney involved than when you're just trying to, do it yourself. And there is a reason that there are, millions of dollars being spent by personal injury lawyers all across this country. And the reason is that what we do is a very important thing in our society, and we make a lot of money doing it. And the reason we make a lot of money doing it is because we get a lot more money on an injury that we represent than when someone doesn't have a lawyer. Otherwise, you'd have people settle in their cases all the time, and it just doesn't happen as much because they get taken advantage of.
Good to know. So I have a scenario for you.
Oh boy. Okay. Let me put on my law school hat.
Yeah. Get the books out.
Let me get them.
So say I'm walking in downtown area, just say downtown New Haven, Church Street, and I fall on a patch of ice. Who's responsible for that? Is it the city or the building owner?
Well, like most areas of the law, it's gray. So if you fall on a sidewalk in front of a private business, depending on the municipality in which you fall, that private business is probably responsible, but might not be responsible. Certain municipalities have a liability shifting statute, which says that if someone falls on the city sidewalk, but it's because of snow and ice, the adjacent landowner, the person who owns the property touching that sidewalk, is actually responsible. Not every municipality has that, but a lot of them do. If you fall in the middle of the street, then the city is going to be on the hook for it. And if you have to go after the city, it's a whole nother area of law. You have to have a totally different type of burden of proof, and the law is very, very specific and difficult for claims against any kind of a city or a municipality. There's notice requirements. There's just a lot. It's a lot more complicated and a lot more difficult to bring those cases. So I guess the short answer is it depends. Like anything else in the law, it could be this, it could be that, and you have to sort of fish through it.
So generally speaking, most of the time the sidewalks are pretty much the responsibility of the property owner.
Generally speaking, yes. Generally speaking, property owners are responsible for clearing the sidewalks in front of their houses and their businesses. And it's great for a city because they don't have to worry about it too much. But it's an important thing as a business owner that you understand you've got to keep your property clear, like we were talking about earlier, today.
So then I have another scenario for you. Say
Okay.
You're at home and your 5-year-old son leaves a glass on the floor after you repeatedly told him to pick it up, and then you step on it, it shatters.
I will sue that kid.
You sue him?
I will sue him. I'll take his piggy bank away. I will.
Oh, his piggy bank's pretty full too. He's got one of them giant crayons.
Yeah, we'll take that. We'll take that.
Take it. I'm going to tell him.
How many nickels can I get out of that?
Well, he might even have a couple of dollar bills in there. I'm not sure.
I'm going to take a sack of nickels.
What are some scenarios where timeliness is important to an injured party?
Timeliness is really important when you're bringing a claim against any type of a non-private entity. So an example for that would be the state of Connecticut, the city of Hartford, the Department of Transportation, Board of Education. Any kind of non-private entity has a notice requirement, and there's so many different types of notice requirements that it's really not worth getting into right now. But if you have fallen or been injured in any sort of a public venue, in a park, if your kid, was beat up by bullies at a school, if you slipped and fell or tripped in a crosswalk going across the street because there's a giant pothole, if you fell down a manhole because the cover wasn't on it, those types of claims, you really need to get to an attorney quickly because there are very specific notice requirements. And if you don't meet those notice requirements, you don't have a claim at all. There's just nothing you can do. And a lot of people don't realize that, and they come to me and they say, well, a year ago, I was assaulted by a police officer, or I, fell down in the street. And I say, well, there's nothing I can do. It's a year ago. You missed the notice requirement. I can't go after anybody because I haven't met the statutory requirements that are needed to bring a claim against a municipality. And it's even worse with the state. If you need to bring a claim against the state, not only do you have to put them on notice, you have to go to the state and get permission from the state to sue the state, if you can believe that. So let's say you're injured at a rest area on 84, and you slip and fall on ice at a rest area on 84. You have to file a notice requirement with the claims commissioner for the state of Connecticut, and then they have to say, well, yeah, you can sue us, or nah, I don't think you can sue us. And then once they decide whether or not you are allowed to sue them, then you can sue them, and then you still have an uphill battle. So any kind of non-private entity, it really requires you to get to a lawyer quickly because there are notice requirements, and they're very, very strict. And they're arduous. They're complicated.
So the state can say you can't sue us?
Yes.
Can't sue them?
Yes. Correct. You have to get permission from the state to sue the state.
So why would they ever give permission to somebody to sue them?
Well, there's some very specific statutes that govern it, where the statutes will basically tell them you have to give permission in this circumstance. If the claim meets this criteria, you have to give permission. So that's what they would do. They can't just, willy-nilly say, no, you can't sue us. They have to, it has to fit sort of into their little pattern. But you still have to go through that hoop of getting that permission, which is ridiculous. So
that was a gallon of water, by the way.
I saw. It was super classy.
It's vodka. It's not water.
Well, glasses scare me now, so I gotta.
you stick to plastic.
That's right.
Interesting.
So it's it's nice to be involved in a business where we're able to help people. It's especially nice to be involved in a business where I'm able to know the distinctions that people have to navigate through. There's a lot of businesses that are out there where people know what they're doing, and they don't really need any help, and they end up hiring a business, to help them with something. There's other businesses where people have no idea what they're doing. And you two are in similar industries. I mean, I would have no idea how to, digitally market my business or how to navigate through what insurance policies I should be getting aside from the commercials I get on TV, right? So it's great to be in an industry where you're helping people do something that they just have no idea about. And that makes it all the more frustrating for me when people call me and they say, well, I know exactly what I'm doing, and I'm going to take care of negotiating this myself, because they have no idea what they're doing. And they're just losing out.
So Eugene doesn't like those commercials, first of all.
Which one?
And secondly, the Geico commercials and State Farm commercials.
I hate every single one of them.
Eugene actually knows Jake personally, but
Jake from Steak Farm.
that's
Jake and
right.
I are having beers tonight.
Oh yeah.
And
No,
you
but
know, but I always tell people that everybody's an expert at something. So, you know, and it's only because in the technology world, I've dealt with doctors and lawyers, and they will be the first ones to admit, I know nothing about computers or this or that. But they know the law, or they know all these big fancy long words in doctor's world. And like the other day, I saw the doctor about my foot, and I don't even remember the word he used now. I was like, okay, what does that mean?
Right.
And he was just talking about the way your fingers shrivel up when they've been in water for a while.
Dummy it down a little, Doc. Dummy it down a little.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
but everybody's an expert at something.
Mhm.
And I always tell people that. So I never discount anybody, because they're going to know more than me at something.
Well, I always like to say I'm never the smartest guy in the room. You know, if I'm the smartest guy in the room, we got a pretty big problem in that room.
you're in the wrong rule.
There's always someone
True.
around that you can learn from, and it's important. It's important to, as a professional, it's important to be mindful of the fact that you can learn from everyone you interact with. There's always something to learn. And none of us are going to go out at the end of the day when we're 90 years old and say, man, I learned it all. I knew everything. So when you come into a professional, and it's a doctor or a lawyer or whoever it is, and they say that, oh, I know everything, you turn around and walk out, because if they think they know everything, they don't know a whole lot.
Exactly.
Good point.
Exactly.
Uh,
All right. So tell us some interesting stories that you have from your personal
oh, gosh.
interesting cases, interesting clients.
Did you think it was all going to be easy?
Well, you know, one of the hardest things about what I do is there are so many people looking for a quick and easy buck. Right? There's just that's natural in this industry. But I have to sift through the ones that are legitimate and the ones that are not legitimate. And I had a guy come in. He said he was in this accident. He was treating with a chiropractor for a while. He took out one of these advances, you know, that have like Peachtree companies like that'll loan you money on or advance you money on your settlement. So he was able to get funding from Peachtree. And I get the police report. He's not on the police report. And I said, well, why aren't you on the police report? I must have, I don't know, they missed me. I was there. I don't know what happened. I called the drivers. No, he wasn't there. There was no one else in the car. I called the police officer. Nope, no one else in the car. Guy just made up the whole thing. Convinced everybody that he was in the car. One of these funding companies got suckered into giving him like $1,500. And at the end of the day, you know, he just disappeared when I confronted him about it. He was gone. He just totally made it up. And that kind of thing, we have to be pretty vigilant about making sure that we're not being taken advantage of. I don't like to bring claims like that. If it's not legitimate, it's not legitimate. People that say they fall down and then there's a video of them, you know, not actually falling down, or, you know, they say they slipped on something and it turns out that they're the ones that poured it onto the ground before they slipped. And that kind of stuff does happen, but it doesn't happen a lot. It happens on occasion. And what I hear more of is when legitimate accidents do take place, people get humiliated by property owners or store managers. And that's something that they get really, really upset about. And I can't blame them. And I had a woman who we signed up, and she was injured at a Walmart about a month ago. She slipped on like a dish soap, maybe something sticky, slippery rather, in front of a register. And the manager of the store of the Walmart came over to her and said, "You caused this. You poured this out, and then you slipped on it on purpose." And she said, "What are you talking about?" And he started taking all of her things out of her cart and laying it across and telling her that she caused it, and demanding to know where she had put the open product that she had poured onto the ground and caused herself to slip on. And that kind of thing happens. I mean, people get humiliated like that. This woman was mortified. And I could tell you, she would have been perfectly happy, you know, if they had just said, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and filled out an incident report. And this guy, you know, just completely humiliated her. And it's not the first time I get called like that. This happens a lot. It's
Why do you
unfortunate.
suppose they do that? Why do you suppose I mean, if the guy's a store manager at a Walmart, what does he have to gain from doing something like that?
He's gauged on loss prevention. So one of the metrics that a lot of big companies use to measure their employees' success or lack thereof is how many accidents are on the property or how much money they're paying out because of theft or injury or something like that. And so this guy, you know, I would think maybe he's being measured on that, or he's just, you know, a bitter guy who has seen it happen before and assumes everyone's out to screw him. But I can tell you that this wasn't, you know, some rich white guy up in Madison, Connecticut. This was at a Walmart that was downtown, and I'm sure that the, you know, the socioeconomic development of the people involved had a difference. There's, you know, some subtle racism that goes on in those types of situations. And you see it with managers and you see it with cops and we see it a lot. I can tell you that sort of thing wouldn't have happened at a beautiful, nice Walmart up in Old Saybrook, Connecticut.
Is there such a thing as a beautiful, nice Walmart? I've yet to see a Walmart. You walk in, oh, this is nice.
This is beautiful. This is
God,
what a stunning Walmart.
There's more than 3 registers open. This is amazing.
It's glistening. They just mopped the floor.
Eugene, there are more than 3 registers open. Those are the self-serve registers.
Yeah. No, but so I go to the one sometimes in Wallingford.
Yep.
And
that's a nice one.
Yeah. The self-service, 3 of them won't take cards. The other 2 won't take cash. One's broken. So there's really only like 4 of them that actually work. And then there's only like 2 other registers that are open.
Well, they are making, you know, like $100 billion a year in profit. So you wouldn't expect them to hire too many people to work the registers.
Yeah.
I just actually read today they're giving something like 1.5 billion employees or something like that a raise. Everybody's getting a raise. Maybe it was 1.5 million. I'm not sure, but
no, they should give them a raise.
Oh,
these companies that are making billions and billions of dollars and they're paying their employees like crap are not doing a service to anybody. They're doing a disservice. And we, the taxpayers, we're the ones that are suffering because of it. Those people that are working at Walmart making $11 an hour that have a family to support and all of their family is now on Medicaid trying to get state health insurance because they're not making enough money to pay for regular health insurance, or they're on food stamps because they have kids and they can't afford their food. That's coming out of my taxes and your taxes. And frankly, I'd rather see, you know, Mr. Walmart pay a lot more money to his employees so I don't have to subsidize their life out of my taxes.
That's why I stopped going to Walmart. That's one of them.
Bob Gould for president.
That's right. No.
Gould cares. Remember, hashtag Gould cares. All right, where are we? Oh.
We're on Blab, Eugene.
Did I get you off guard?
No, we have a list of questions and trying to figure out
okay
which one's next, who's next.
Oh boy! All right, go ahead.
Next.
Ask away.
Next.
Ask away.
You're
next.
ready.
What are some of the? So we're gonna pretty much talk about how we're gonna grow your business, similar to what we do in BNI. But so, what are some of your best referral sources?
My best referral sources are people that come into people that interact with people that have been injured. So doctors and chiropractors, hospital administrators, and other lawyers. Those are really ways that we get a lot of business. And one of the reasons I know that what we've done over the last 4 years has been really impactful and has been very successful is that I now get cases from other lawyers because they can't get their cases resolved. And it's probably 10, 15 cases a month where other lawyers call me and they say, we can't get this claim resolved. It's not worth $1 billion. You know, it's a decent case. We can't get the money we need. We don't have the resources. We can't get a lawsuit filed for whatever reason. They can't work on it. They give it to me and we're able to get those cases resolved for the clients. And we're usually able to do it without a trial. Most people don't want to have to go to trial. Most people want their cases resolved. They don't want to miss a week of work to sit in a trial. They don't want the uncertainty of a trial. And most insurance companies, they're the same way. They don't want the uncertainty of a trial either. So we're able to get those cases resolved, and we get a lot of them from other lawyers that just aren't able to get it done. And our process allows us to do that. And as far as chiropractors and doctors go, we get a lot of cases from chiropractors who, you know, they have a client who they've been seeing once a month for the last 10 years, and that person gets into a car wreck, and all of a sudden they can't move. They're going to call their chiropractor, and the chiropractor is going to call me and say, you got to help this guy out. he can't afford to pay me for treatment for 3 or 4 days a week, and I'll make sure that the bills get paid at the end of the case.
Have you ever had a case go to trial?
Yeah, we've had a lot of cases go to trial. When I was in New York, it was a ton of trial work. A ton. It was all up and down the four in Bronx, Manhattan, Brooklyn, out to Queens, Sutton Boulevard, down in Staten Island. That's all we did. It was a lot of stuff went to trial in New York. Out here, I mean, if we have to have a case go to trial, we will. My business, we're still young enough that we haven't had a lot of stuff that has to go to trial just because it takes 3-4 years to get a case to trial.
Yeah. I know insurance companies, like you said, they hate trials because they have to pay their attorneys by the hour. So they hate going to trial, and their attorneys are not cheap.
Yeah, they hate going to trial. They have to pay their attorneys by the hour, or they have the in-house attorneys that are all managing 400 cases, and they have no idea the facts of one versus another. But I think that they don't like the uncertainty of it either. And that creates, the closer you get to trial, the more leverage you're going to have to get a decent settlement offer on a case if you haven't before, because they have risk. And if there's one thing Eugene, insurance companies are incredibly risk averse.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not as risk averse because what's on the line for me is different than what's on the line for them. So I'm perfectly happy, plowing ahead. I got a case right now. It's a case worth $100,000. They offered me $16,000 yesterday. $16,000. The guy had surgery. And they said, oh, we don't think it's related. Oh, that's great. I'm glad you think that. Let's plow ahead. Eventually, they're going to pay the money because they're risk averse and they do not want to risk having to pay more than their policy limit.
Especially in this day and age where everything's so public now and it's so easy to spread some bad news about an insurance company over social media.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I'm starting to worry about is the public perception. They already have negative public perception. They don't want anything to add to that.
That's absolutely right. I mean, despite Flo being very, very nice in the Progressive ads or Mr. Mayhem in Allstate, generally speaking, everyone knows these companies are making billions of dollars a year, and they're not out to help you.
Yeah.
Apparently, everyone knows that except for the people that decide they don't want to hire a lawyer. They're going to negotiate it themselves.
It was interesting for me to hear, though, in your referral sources, there was not many, you didn't mention insurance agents. I figured that would be a good source as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, an insurance agent is a good source. You're absolutely right. And I work with probably 4 or 5 that have been sending me cases over the last few years. Obviously, you get into a wreck and you call your insurance agent because you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Some of the insurance agents will try and steer those cases to me because they're looking out for their clients. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. I'm a big fan of working with insurance agents because the people that they're working with tend to be the kind of clients that we can really help out. I mean, they have insurance. They probably didn't do anything wrong or they wouldn't have called their insurance agent. They have questions and they're looking for help. And people that are looking for help are more likely to accept my help than the people that think they know everything and they don't need any help.
Right. So do you do any other types of marketing besides just the referral generating?
I do a lot of word of mouth. I'm in a couple of networking groups, and I'm on Facebook all the time. And that's not I like the other doctors and lawyers you spoke about earlier, Scott. I would probably benefit from doing a lot more marketing. But at this point, all right, I'm doing a lot of word of mouth. We do mailers, we do birthday cards. We make our clients feel special, and we ask them for referrals. And a lot of lawyers and other people in business are afraid to ask for referrals. They think it's kind of tacky to ask for a referral or whatever it is. We ask everyone for a referral. And, if I'm talking to a client and we're doing a good job, I'll say, hey, remember me when, your mother gets hit by a semi on 95. Have her give me a call and we'll help her out too. We are constantly asking for referrals because people don't always know that, that we want them, we want a case. So right now it's a lot of word of mouth and a lot of asking for help.
So Bob, you already touched on this as we opened, but anything you want to advise people as our first major winter snowpocalypse, snowmageddon storm approaches? Now that we're only going to get 6 inches, maybe.
Storm of the
The
century.
storm of the century, part
Biggest
48.
storm of the year.
Yeah.
Yes.
What I would recommend doing is similar to what Eugene said, but I will add, be careful walking outside and be careful shoveling. You'd be surprised how many people drop dead every year from shoveling snow. And I don't mean to be cold about that, but if you are shoveling snow, go easy. Go at the knees, not the back. Don't try and do it all at once. Take breaks. If you've been sitting inside your house all day and then you go outside and you're not used to doing a lot of physical activity and you start shoveling your driveway, that's a lot of physical activity. So go easy doing that. Get some help if you need to. Find a neighborhood kid to help you. And just walking around, be careful. You know, you can buy soles for your shoes. I believe they're called yak tracks, and they have little spikes in the bottom to give you traction when you're walking around. But if you're just walking around and, you know, going to work and you've got loafers on, well, you're going to slip and you're going to get hurt. And whether that's something that I can help you with or not is a totally different matter. But just in terms of safety, be careful what you wear. Be aware that this is a snowstorm and there's going to be snow on the ground and you can't go running around like it's the middle of the summer. You got to be careful out there. And finally, accidents happen a lot in the winter, especially in a storm. Keep a blanket in your car. Keep a few bottles of water in your car. Keep a couple of granola bars in the trunk, because if you're stuck in your car for 12 hours, you're going to want a little snack. Mm-hmm. All right. Make sure that your car is gassed up fully before the storm comes, because if you're out in the road and something happens and you get into a wreck and they can't come and get you, you're going to want that gas tank full so you can keep yourself heated. You're going to want a blanket in the car so you can stay warm. You're going to want some food and some water. You're going to want to have a charger for your cell phone so you can charge your cell phone in your car. You're going to want to have your cell phone with you. Just be careful. Be mindful of the fact that, you know, it's not, you don't have connection 24/7 when you're stuck in a snowdrift out in the middle of Litchfield County.
All right, Bob. So we've come to the point in our show where we do this fire round. It's 4 quick questions, but now I've mixed it up a little bit. So this is going to be a little different. So if you've watched previous episodes, you're not getting the same questions that previous guests have had.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Are you sure?
Not really.
You want a bathroom break or anything?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Fire away.
You're good? Okay. All right. Eugene?
All-time favorite sports personality?
Larry Bird.
Wow. I didn't expect that one.
That was quick.
I'm a kid from outside of Boston growing up in the 80s. There's no one better, no one bigger than Larry Bird.
That's true.
Literally.
Yeah.
You know what? As a New York fan, I like Larry Bird.
What's not to like?
He's a class act. Yeah, for sure. Your least favorite currently active athlete?
Derek Jeter. No, A-Rod.
He's not currently active.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He retired. It's got to be A-Rod.
Wait.
Hold on.
Yeah,
I don't
how
like
can you
that.
not like Derek Jeter?
I'm the only one. I don't like Derek Jeter.
Even Boston fans give him respect.
Respect maybe, but he's a little smirky for me.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, I can even agree with you on A-Rod. So far, we're 2 for 2 here.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
A-Rod could get lost.
Yes. Captain Purple Lips.
Favorite quote besides Captain Purple Lips?
Favorite quote?
Yep.
Is that what the question was?
Yep.
Sometimes you can get shown the light in the strangest of places if you look at it right.
Is that from a song?
It's from a Grateful Dead song. And it is really important to, I like that quote because it gives you perspective. You know, you can look at the same situation day in and day out and not know how to resolve something. But if you just take a step back and try and look at it from a different angle, you find your solution.
It's very good.
Very good.
I had a feeling it was a song. I didn't know you were a Deadhead, but now we know. This is live. We're recording. This is going on iTunes, buddy.
I thought he made it up when he was trying to freestyle or something.
Yeah, now somebody's going to use it in their rap song. Lil Wayne's going to use it, and he's going to take credit for it.
I hope so.
Good job. One piece of advice you wish you knew before you started your business.
Get a line of credit as early as you can.
Interesting.
Well, remember, my business, I don't get paid right away, right? Yeah. So I've got a year between when a case comes in the door and when I make $1 on it. So for me, having a line of credit is really important because I'm laying money out every day. I'm filing lawsuits and I'm serving people with a marshal, and all that stuff cost me $500 here, $1,000 here. I'm hiring doctors for reports, $2,000. But I'm laying all that money out, and if I don't have the money coming in the door to cover those expenses, my firm comes to a grinding halt. And so in my industry, having a line of credit is important because it can keep you moving ahead during times when maybe the cash isn't coming in as regularly as you'd like it. And I think that's important in every business. And it was, you know, I think if you have any kind of a business that has some sort of a fluctuation as to when you're going to see your money, having a line of credit really can help you maintain steady growth and allow you to, continue forward.
Absolutely. You need that working capital.
You got to have it. You got to have it. Is that 4? Did I answer all 4?
Yeah, you got all 4.
Yeah.
All right.
This might amuse you, Bob. I just got a text alert that they're already closing things for tomorrow.
Isn't it Saturday? Tomorrow's Saturday, right?
Yeah, that's when it starts.
Yeah, well, my
hey, listen, I'm gonna. You could add this to the order. Tomorrow, Gould Law will be closed.
Oh, all right. I'll send that into WFSB right now.
Please do. Please do.
I will. Scott Gombar, digital marketing agency, they'll be open because the office is in the basement and I have no excuse. However, I don't have to shovel because I have a bad foot.
That's nice. That's nice. Yeah. Make the kid do it. He busted up your foot.
Yeah. You know what he does? He takes the snow from the grass and puts it back on the driveway, little jerk.
So thoughtful.
I have to shovel.
Me too.
Yeah, so you have to shovel 2 houses tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. Listen to this guy. I already owe him lunch. Anyway, Bob, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it. It was great to get to know your business a little better. And as I slightly mentioned, the show will go out over iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, Stitcher, a couple other, and it'll be on growthsuccessradio.com. It'll get tweeted and Facebooked and all kinds of good stuff.
All right.
So that'll be later today, most likely. And but thank you for coming on. We appreciate it. It's good to get to know more about your business and how you grow your business, and that you're not one of those ambulance chasers. We won't mention any of those law firms that are always doing commercials. But we appreciate you coming on, and
yes,
we will probably have you on again in another date. But
no, that sounds great. This has been great. I really, I've enjoyed it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
No problem. Next Friday we will be back. Eugene, did you work that out with Carrie, or?
She's still waiting for the wonderful FINRA people to approve it.
Okay. So we may have a financial advisor on to talk to us about tax season, because it is tax season. I know that makes everybody's head swell and heart explode, especially here in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
And then every other Friday, we're on 10 a.m. The following Friday, we will have Wayne English. We're going to try that again. He's going to talk to us about content marketing. And if you want to listen to any of the past episodes, again, visit growthsuccessradio.com or find us on iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, all of those good places. Any parting thoughts, gentlemen?
This has been great. Thanks again.
Everybody stay safe tomorrow in case we do get hit by a huge storm.
Yeah, thank you. And go Denver. All right. Good night, guys. Bye, guys.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.